Thank you for joining us on Michigan Health Star. This week's Michigan Health Star is our friend Judge Linda Davis. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
A lot of good things have been happening this year in Michigan in terms of opiate addiction. Judge Davis has been in Macomb County Court for
17 years.
17 years, a very highly respected judge in her field throughout Michigan. I always hear good things about her. Just how true you are, what an activist you are, how hard you work. We've taken a trip together. I know that you're always thinking about people, helping people. Today, Judge Davis is going to talk to us about some of the changes in Michigan regarding opiate abuse and addiction and subsequent deaths. I saw a press conference like 2 weeks ago.
Correct.
What is happening with Michigan and Snyder?
Well, 2 years ago, the governor formed a task force, and there were about 15 different people that sat on it, and we made recommendations about what we thought needed to happen in the state to start tackling this prescription drug problem that we have. And from that, he then developed a permanent commission that's going to be in existence for at least 2 years to implement all of the bullet points that we indicated were necessary in Michigan. And so I was designated as the chair of that committee at the end of last year, and we've been working on all of those bullet points to start making a difference in Michigan with how we view prescription drug abuse, change the stigma of addiction, and to provide help for the individuals that are already addicted.
Wow, that's a big plate.
It is.
I thought it was interesting. You told me before that Michigan ranks pretty low in terms of our opiate, what we're doing as a state to fight the opiate addiction crisis.
It does. We were rated last year as being the second worst state in the union for dealing with the opiate addiction. And they used 6 markers to determine that, and 4 of those markers have to do with what we're doing legislatively with our doctors and with prescription pain management through legislation to deal with these issues. And so that's one of the things we are tackling in the commission, is trying to get us up to par with what other states are doing and be more progressive in tackling this problem from a physician standpoint.
Wow. It's kind of disappointing. I mean, part of my job is looking for progressive businesses, progressive healthcare, and making sure that these companies and healthcare individuals get the credit and honor they deserve. This is actually kind of troubling what you're saying. What exactly are the points you're saying medically related? There's more things that doctors can be doing to help fight the opiate addiction crisis?
Well, the very first thing they need to do is educate themselves about it. We think our doctors know what they're doing when they prescribe medications to us, but they were really taught faulty information several years back. About 15 years ago, there was studies that were out that said that opiates weren't addictive, and doctors bought into that. And so it used to be that we just used opiates for terminally ill patients to make sure that they were comfortable at the end of their life. But even they were very well monitored because we wanted them to have a quality of life at the end of their life as well. So they just weren't doped up and left to die.
Right.
These studies came out saying that hardly anybody gets addicted to opiates, and that's what doctors were taught. Well, we've since learned that those were faulty studies that were done. They were not true, and that almost anybody that takes opiates long term will become dependent and eventually addicted to them. So now we need to re-educate our doctors, and they need to be open to listening to the new information.
Right. I think what I'm hearing you say resonates with a lot of research I've been seeing lately that shows that there's a real lack of transparency in scientific studies, especially when you're talking about pharmaceuticals. A lot of these studies are being funded by pharmaceutical companies, and the object is to get these drugs out on the market. And so a lot of these scientists are handpicked, and you really, when you start looking at these studies and looking at apples to apples, there's just no bottom. Are you saying, do you think that's the case, that maybe those studies were kind of concocted to push the drug
They were.
on an unethical way? We're talking about medical ethics, basically.
Well, what people really need to understand is that doctors go to medical school and they learn procedures, but they get very little education on prescriptions. Very little education. Some of them get 0 hours, others get 1 hour of education on it.
Wow. Okay.
And so that's one of the markers, is how much education are we requiring our doctors to get before they're able to prescribe. So where doctors learn about prescriptions are from pharmaceutical companies.
So the drug rep comes in, gives them their spiel that they've learned basically through sales training,
Correct.
not medical training, although I know a lot of drug reps are nurses and things, whatnot. But the doctors are counting on these drug reps to be honest with them, and it's getting lost along the way.
It is getting lost along the way. And so what we need to do is make sure that credible people are educating our doctors about opiates, benzos, amphetamines, because all of those are prescribed in the United States at an outrageous rate. For example, with Vicodin, we consume 99% of all Vicodin that's produced worldwide, and we only make up 4% of the population.